Have you ever sent a text message, put your phone down, and then picked it back up 30 seconds later just to reread what you wrote? Then you wonder if you sounded too excited, or too cold, or maybe that one emoji completely changed the meaning. Before you know it, you've imagined 5 different ways the other person might interpret your message, and somehow you've already convinced yourself that you've ruined the friendship. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Most people think overthinking is simply thinking too much. But psychology tells a different story. Overthinking isn't really about having more thoughts. It's about getting trapped inside the same thoughts, replaying them over and over, as if your mind is trying to solve a puzzle that doesn't actually have a perfect answer. What's fascinating is that your brain isn't trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect you. Imagine your mind as an incredibly loyal security guard. Its job is to spot danger before danger spots you. Thousands of years ago, that ability kept humans alive. Missing a predator hiding in the bushes could mean the end of your story. So evolution rewarded brains that noticed patterns, predicted threats, and prepared for the worst. The problem is, your brain still uses that ancient survival software in a modern world. Instead of watching for lions, it's watching for awkward conversations, embarrassing memories, uncertain futures, and imaginary disasters that haven't happened, and probably never will. That's why someone can spend 3 minutes talking to a coworker and then spend 3 hours analyzing every sentence afterward. Sound familiar? Researchers often describe this as rumination, a mental loop where the brain keeps revisiting the same situation without reaching a satisfying conclusion. Instead of finding answers, each lap around the track creates even more questions. What if I should have said something different? What if they secretly dislike me? What if I made a terrible impression? The strange part is that every new thought feels productive. It feels like you're making progress. But it's a bit like rocking back and forth in a rocking chair. You're moving constantly, yet you're not actually getting anywhere. Overthinkers usually aren't lazy thinkers. They're often incredibly intelligent. They notice details other people completely miss. Tiny facial expressions, changes in someone's tone of voice, small inconsistencies, patterns hidden beneath the surface. Their brains collect information the way a detective collects clues. The challenge is that the detective never closes the case. Every clue creates another possibility. Every possibility creates another question. And every question opens another door. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as analysis paralysis. When there are too many possibilities, making a decision suddenly feels dangerous. Choosing one option means giving up all the others, so the brain keeps searching for more certainty, even though absolute certainty almost never arrives. Have you noticed that overthinkers often struggle with simple choices? Picking a restaurant, buying a phone, sending an email, starting a new career. From the outside, people wonder, why don't they just decide? Inside the overthinker's mind, it feels like choosing the wrong option could have consequences that ripple through the future forever. It's exhausting. And here's something many people don't realize. Overthinking isn't always caused by anxiety. Sometimes it's caused by caring. People who deeply value relationships often replay conversations because those relationships matter to them. People who hold themselves to high standards review every mistake because they genuinely want to improve. The intention is beautiful. The strategy just becomes overwhelming. Think about a movie director editing the same scene hundreds of times. At first, each adjustment improves the film. But eventually, the edits become so tiny that no one else would even notice them. Overthinking works the same way. Your brain keeps editing reality long after the useful work is finished. There's also something psychologists call the illusion of control. When life feels uncertain, the mind believes that thinking harder will somehow create certainty. If I analyze enough, if I prepare enough, if I imagine every possible outcome, then maybe nothing bad will happen. But life doesn't work that way. No amount of thinking can eliminate uncertainty. In fact, trying to predict everything often makes uncertainty feel even bigger. It's like trying to flatten ocean waves with your hands. The harder you push, the more water moves. One famous study from psychologists at Penn State found that chronic worriers often believed worrying was somehow helpful, They felt it prepared them emotionally or prevented bad outcomes. But reality told a different story. Most of the feared events never happened. And when difficult situations did happen, people usually handled them much better than they expected. Think about that for a second. Your imagination is often a harsher storyteller than reality itself. It's almost like your brain is producing a disaster movie with an unlimited budget. Every possible plot twist, every worst-case scenario, every emotional explosion. Meanwhile, reality quietly follows a much simpler script. Here's another interesting twist. Overthinkers often have remarkable empathy. Because they're constantly imagining different perspectives, they become skilled at understanding how others might feel. That's a wonderful ability. It helps them become thoughtful friends, compassionate partners, and careful listeners. But empathy without boundaries can become emotional overload. Suddenly you're carrying not only your own emotions but everyone else's too. You start apologizing for things that weren't your fault. You assume responsibility for moods you didn't create. You replay interactions searching for invisible mistakes. Eventually, your own needs become background noise. Neuroscience offers another clue. The brain's default mode network becomes active when we're not focused on the outside world. This network helps us reflect, remember, imagine the future, and understand ourselves. These are incredible abilities. They're responsible for creativity, planning, storytelling, and self-awareness. But when this network becomes overly active without enough balance from present-moment attention, the mind can drift into endless mental simulations. It's like leaving dozens of browser tabs open. Each one demands a little attention. None of them ever fully closes. Soon, everything starts slowing down. That's exactly how many overthinkers describe their minds. Not empty. Crowded. Always running. Always calculating. Always preparing. And yet, despite all that effort, peace remains strangely out of reach. History is filled with famous thinkers who wrestled with minds that never seemed to stop. Philosophers questioned existence for decades. Writers rewrote pages until sunrise. Scientists obsessed over tiny details before making groundbreaking discoveries. Deep thinking has changed the world. The difference is knowing when deep thinking becomes deep trapping. A magnifying glass can help you discover incredible details. Hold it under the sun too long, though, and it starts a fire. Your greatest strength can become your greatest source of stress if it never gets a chance to rest. Maybe that's why overthinkers often feel mentally tired even after doing nothing physical. Their brains have been working overtime all day, running simulations, reviewing memories, predicting conversations, rehearsing tomorrow, editing yesterday. Meanwhile, the present moment quietly slips away. But here's the encouraging part. Psychology doesn't suggest becoming someone who stops thinking. It suggests becoming someone who changes their relationship with thinking. There's an important distinction. Imagine standing beside a river. Your thoughts are the water flowing past. Most people who overthink accidentally jump into the river and let every current carry them away. What if you stayed on the shore instead? You could still notice every thought. You just wouldn't have to follow every single one. This idea appears in mindfulness research, acceptance-based therapies, and cognitive psychology alike. The goal isn't to erase thoughts. That's impossible. The goal is recognizing that a thought isn't automatically a fact. Just because your mind whispers, "Everyone thinks you're awkward," doesn't mean everyone actually does. Just because your brain predicts failure doesn't mean failure is coming. Your brain is constantly generating possibilities, not prophecies. That's an incredibly freeing realization. Perhaps the most surprising truth about overthinkers is that they often judge themselves for something that's actually rooted in sensitivity, intelligence, curiosity, and a genuine desire to do well. Those aren't flaws. They're human strengths. They simply need balance. Because the same mind that imagines disasters can also imagine possibilities. The same attention to detail that spots mistakes can also notice beauty. The same imagination that creates fear can create art, innovation, kindness, and wisdom. It's not about turning your mind off. It's about teaching it when it's safe to be quiet. So the next time you catch yourself replaying a conversation from 3 days ago, wondering if you should have chosen different words, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself one simple question. Is my brain solving a problem or simply searching for certainty that doesn't exist? That single question can gently interrupt the cycle, not because it makes every worry disappear, but because it reminds you that your thoughts are trying to protect you, even when they're overprotecting you. And maybe that's the biggest perspective shift of all. You don't overthink because you're weak. You overthink because your mind is working incredibly hard to keep you safe. Sometimes it just forgets that not every uncertainty is a threat. If today's video helped you understand your own mind a little better, I'd love to hear your experience. Are you someone who overthinks everything, or do you know someone who does? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoy exploring the fascinating psychology behind everyday human behavior, consider subscribing. There are countless mysteries hiding inside the human mind, and every one of them brings us a little closer to understanding ourselves.